Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We are live once again before the Saturday preseason game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens. We'll break down all the latest going on around the Dallas Cowboys. We will discuss the Micah Parsons latest as well. Before we dive into it, who you got in the preseason matchup? R for the Ravens, C for the Cowboys. Let me know who you have winning on this, or in this one, I should say. Ravens haven't been as good in the preseason since their streak got snapped. They also are not going to play really any of their starters. It is also a Cooper Rush revenge game, so you get some fun elements on that front. So C for Jacoby, Bruce, Jake, Evan, Jason, all typing in their C's. Ravens, no R's in there. Evan says F. Steven says, who cares? I care. It's still football. It's better than another non-update from Jerry Jones. Like that's my mindset. C's from D Teddy, who is actually our always awesome mod, which I appreciate your service once again there, Troy. I appreciate that. It now shows the handles and not the names. It's always annoying. Jai Games, Blood Slinger is in there. NFL Prods, all C's coming in the comments section for who you got in this one. R for the Ravens, C for the Cowboys. Next up, will Joe Milton be better than he was last week against the Ravens? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Will Joe Milton be better than he was against the Rams as he will be against the Ravens? Y or N in the comments. A lot of yeses. I hope it's a yes. We've talked about this before. We'll discuss it again in our previews for today's show. It's always a little bit concerning when it is the Milton experience is normally not good in the preseason. Like, he was actually bad last year in the preseason, but he played very well in the regular season finale. So that's it. You take all of the sample size in front of you. I hope he's better. I thought he kind of did settle in a little bit better in the second half, but it was kind of a little bit too little too late. I kind of wish he hadn't kicked field goals on fourth down. Like, we could have all been more excited if he delivers on the touchdown drive or two instead of kicking field goals. Like, I think that's kind of a coaching mistake. So will Joe Milton be better against the Ravens? Y for yes, N for no. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Any Super Chat equals a shout-out. We'll put you up on screen, give you some love, answer your comment, question, whatever. Bonuses for various price points on the Super Chat menu. Of note, the first of all of these four options, the 5, 10, the 50, and the 100, count double the first time. So first $5 Super Chat is going to be 2 jersey raffle entries. We're doing another jersey raffle during preseason week 2. $10 is normally going to be 3. 6 for the next one. $50 for a shotty, 2 for 1 on the first 50. Beer bong is still going to be 100. We'll stick with the in-season prices per boss mandate. $100 on that front for the Super Chat menu. Now we have a non-Cowboys related pin poll. So as some of you know, if you follow me more on Twitter, I have been trying to get my wife to sign off for a while now of naming our upcoming son, who's due in September. T name redacted. We had the team name picked out. T first name, Rex as the middle name, so that I can call him T-Rex. That's what I want. She, to the surprise of nobody, frankly, is not on board. She does not want that. She did offer a compromise of sorts. Bit of a, devil's compromise as far as I'm concerned. We can name him T-Rex, but birth certificate has her last name on and not mine. So he's not a Downey. He ends up being a Finley. So it'd be T-Rex Finley, not T-Rex Downey. So would you, if you're in my shoes, would you do that deal? Yes for it's T-Rex Finley. No for we probably don't get a T-Rex period. Y for yes, N for no. Someone says Jerry Jones Downey. I would rather jump off a bridge. Yes is from Jason and Troy. No from Gordon Schneider. Maybe from Marvin. Karen says no. We now have, I think this is still, let me what the actual name is on the channel. This is still Toxic Tom. It is still Toxic Tom. The handle is at Hostile Toxic Tom Downey Burner 6469. which is hilarious. Says you don't need a last name if you are named T-Rex. Wayne says no. Why would you do that? Johnny W says no. It's a horrible name. Robert says no. Jai Game says hell yeah. Now we just got LeBron James Downey in the suggestions there. Hell yeah. I don't know. Hell yeah. Someone says fake your son on that front, which is funny. Keep the comments coming. And remember to vote in that pinned poll as well for if I should accept the wife's offer, which I asked, like, okay, are you serious? Or are you just kind of like trolling and like you're gonna say yes now, but you'll say no later? She said she was serious. So vote the pin poll. Y for yes, N for no. Right now, 59% are voting no. My gut tells me no, but I at least put it up here to have it be a conversation in the end. So get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Daniel says little T-Rex can always change it when he's older to Downey. It's not the worst, actually, argument there. All right, Super Chats. Bloodslinger, $5. Is there a chance Parsons plays out the contract and they franchise tag him next year? I think, look, once you get to the trade request stage, you have to put every option on the table. Like, I think it's a little bit, not delusional, but like hopium to suggest that, that's not the price point, to suggest that it's just, it'll all be fine no matter what. Nothing actually changed. Stuff did change. So, chance, yes. Would I consider it a huge chance? No. But I would also say it's probably more likely than the trade right now. I think that is a little bit far-fetched. We'll discuss the latest update on that from my guy, Pretty Ricky. But I think there is a chance that he just plays out the contract. But part of this is like the Cowboys won't call him. So I think a lot of this can be fixed with a singular phone call. It's just dumb we're not there yet. Jacob Marshall, a $10 super chat. Trade Micah. The top 5 paid edge rushers have never won a Super Bowl, but the top 3 defensive tackles have won multiple Super Bowls and are way cheaper. We still need help on the defensive line. I appreciate the angle you're taking here. I would always be like slightly hesitant to go down and pursue like the highest paid defensive tackle. Therefore, you can't go down that route. Like, yes, Chris Jones has won a bunch of Super Bowls. How much of that is Chris Jones versus like if Chris Jones was an edge, which actually did try him at edge kind of briefly, like does that actually change where the Chiefs defense plays? They also benefit from Mahomes. Like Milton Williams got paid a lot of money, but he was like the 3rd defensive tackle for Philadelphia. Like, is that actually a good path to pursue? So I do think the crux of this point is that interior pass rush matters a lot, and I completely agree with that. I would also say, like, Von Miller was at one point the highest paid edge, or at least close to it, and he won a Super Bowl. So you can find elements that make it true and not true. I subscribe to the theory of just pay your best players, but also pay them early so you're not dragging it out and having to cost yourself a couple $1 million more. Like, we're all going to be big mad when Nate Hutchinson gets paid. And, okay, now the price is a little bit higher. Just throwing that out there. Now, if you want more Cowboys coverage, do me a favor. Like today's show. We are always angling for that 50% like ratio. So help us out if you haven't already done so. Like the video, please, and thank you. Coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report, we will discuss latest Dallas Cowboys rumors, some Micah Parsons developments at the top of that front. Players to watch against the Ravens. We'll go 10 players, different than the 10 we had against the Rams. I do want to make note of that. A mailbag, 2 ways to get in on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat like Bloodslinger and Jacob Marshall did. Both of those, I think, actually work pretty well for our mailbag. And a kind of a what to watch for, not just player-focused on the Cowboys-Ravens game coming up later this week on Saturday. All that coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. Before we dive into the latest around the Dallas Cowboys, we have a like battle coming up, and is ongoing, I should say, between us and Bears now. This is the battle for second place. We got some ground to catch up against the Raiders report. We're 1,000 and a couple hundred ahead of Bears now. That's like one video, though. So let's keep it high. Hit that like button. Help us out on today's show. This coming across the wire just before we began today's live show. Friend of the show, Pretty Ricky, Slick Rick, the People's Insider, with his dog pun continuing barking rumor. Even though I don't think he will be traded, the Packers have a very serious trade offer on the table to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Lot to unpack with this as it relates to Micah and where things sit. First off, we don't know what the trade offer is. You wouldn't be surprised if we got the alleged trade offer. Wouldn't be surprised if we got details on that in the not too distant future. I think this makes sense though. And I would go so far as to say this is probably not the only trade offer the Cowboys have on the table. Having a trade offer versus seriously engaging in trade talks and being willing to go down that path are indeed two different things. So there's two ways you can do the tweet, and the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. The news element of the Packers have made an offer, which they're an aggressive team that actually kind of does make some sense, and the side of the doesn't expect the Cowboys to say yes. Both those things can be true. Team makes an offer. I bet they're not the only one. In fact, I promise you they're not the only one. Cowboys say no, it doesn't end up mattering in the end. But still noteworthy. And until you actually get the deal done, because the trade request is out there, it's kind of an ugly situation and not fun and is kind of like, that's noteworthy. Let's stick with trade talk here. Jaylen Tolbert is next up here. Look, there have been headlines, videos, articles, everything else in between suggesting that a Jaylen Tolbert trade is under consideration, that the Cowboys are having trade talks about Jaylen Tolbert. There's a problem here. No one's actually said that. I tried to dig back and figure out, okay, there's been roster projection stuff from Sports Illustrated, didn't have them on there. That's one thing. But trying to get back to the original who said it first, the nearest I could find was, you know how this is dangerous, an Instagram account with about 5,000 followers citing unnamed rumors as to why. Which sometimes when that happens, in general, when people don't cite things, okay, you just made it up, right? So that's where it started from. So it kind of has become this bad game of telephone where I think it was really just well, what if trade him? The suggestion, the idea, the talking point of a Jaylen Tolbert trade does have some logic, actually. That does make some sense for the Cowboys. But the idea of it, the rationale, the logic behind it, that is different than news, right? And I am always down to discuss whatever's being talked about. Good, bad, ugly, happy, sad, news, rumors, trades, cuts, free agency. Happy to talk about it. We do 2 shows a day. There's plenty of time to talk about everything. I just want to make sure we're always presenting it right. So, yeah, you might have seen the headlines on it, but it's really more of well, would this make sense stage? Which is fine, but we have to have the context of it being in more of the, hey, does this actually make sense for the Cowboys, and not present it as well, they've had trade talks, there we go. That's how I want to frame this, which we'll spend some more time on this year. So, chance for you guys to comment, because I know how you guys feel about Jaylen Tolbert more often than not. I know how most of the votes are going to go. Would you trade him? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. We'll make this the pinned comment, by the way, so take advantage. Head down there of a potential ad coming here. Y for yes, N for no. Would you guys trade Jaylen Tolbert? Couple of reasons you could justify a Jaylen Tolbert hypothetical trade. If you could get help at an area of need, like a defensive tackle spot, a cornerback, I think that would actually be a pretty logical idea for you to consider. That you would be able to fill a bigger need with a spot that maybe you have some additional depth in terms of your wide receiver room. And I think DT corner is probably a bigger need right now. You could also free up a roster spot, which would allow you to carry one of an additional Jalen Brooks, who he might make team even though you guys don't like it, and I'm not a huge fan of it either. Free up spot for a Trayshawn Holden, a Ryan Flanoy. And you're still going to use Kevontae Turpin a pretty decent amount as a wide receiver 3.5. Jonathan Mingo could maybe, if you think he's going to take a step forward, that's a big deal. Flanoy, you don't have to risk losing one of those guys to waivers. And for a guy that's in the last year of his deal in the same way that Jaylen Tolbert is. I think the ceiling for Tolbert is limited, especially with like having Pickens and Lamb. Like he's not going to have more yards than last season. So how much do you really need out of that number 3 receiver? And I think compared to guys like a Mingo, a Flanoy, a Brooks, I think there would be some actual value. He did produce last year. He produced more than guys that got $10 million contracts in free agency. I think that is worth mentioning. So maybe not elite value, but there is some value. And the production is also a reason not to potentially trade away Jaylen Tolbert. That what he brings you, even if you guys don't always like it, we all just forgot about the Steelers game-winning catch, by the way. The production that he has brought to the Cowboys organization does have value. If something were to happen, you'd want to have him out there. He did put up 610 yards. That's not nothing in the end. Like, that is something. 7 touchdowns. He was serviceable. I think he's more of a replacement level-ish wide receiver. It's like he could not be your wide receiver too, but as the 3 is fine. I think Dak seems to trust him. To a fault at times, that's like kind of an issue for him. The other guys we mentioned, Mingo, etc., those are all kind of more potential-based. Like, Turpin's got to be a full-time receiver. He, Mingo still hasn't actually done anything remotely close to what Tolbert did last season. The traits aren't great for Tolbert. He can play inside, outside, and he helps on special teams. He actually plays that gunner role. He can do it. Haven't seen Mingo really do it yet. Turpin is going to be a return guy, obviously. That's why there's like a decent amount of chance that like, hey, maybe they just go down and pursue, Jalen Brooks, receiver 6, goes to special teams. I think that's kind of boring, but that's a real possibility. In the end, if you could get actual help at defensive tackle or corner, I would consider a Jaylen Tolbert trade because that, I think, makes my team better in the short term and potentially in the long term as well. But if I'm not getting him anything good back, or at least, impactful or serviceable back, I'll keep him. I'll keep my depth at receiver. I think I can get my other guys down to the practice squad fairly easily, and I'll let them leave in free agency next year and maybe get a comp pick at that point. And this Dallas Cowboys hoodie is on sale. It was $55. Now it's just $33. It is the short sleeve hoodie, so you can get yours today. We'll put this link in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. It'll be in the 3rd paragraph, by the way, of the description. So get yours today at chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. Breece Hall trade rumors are back. And again, always want to consider the source here. They come from Tony Pauline, who respectfully is hit and miss at best. He was a big guy pushing the Cowboys, loved Damian Martinez, who they passed on repeatedly, actually. He was wrong. The Broncos going to go trade Surtain for a quarterback. Was big McCarthy Patriots guy. Raiders were going to go OT in round 1. Said the Cowboys would take Matthew Golden over Tedderell and McMillan and never mentioned offensive line as an option. So, asterisk it. But here's the report from Pauline. It says that people close to the situation, speculate the Jets, could move Hall by the trade deadline. Then move forward with Braylon Allen as well as Isaiah Davis and eventually draft back in 2026. Allen surprised everyone last season and played beyond expectations. Look, I think this falls into it's plausible category. Kind of like the Tolbert idea originally. Like, it does make some sense, right? Admittedly, per Pauline, it's all speculation. Like, close to the situation, speculate, that's really hedged reporting that, like, sends off alarm bells for me of, like, if it's not true, he's just going to say, well, they never said they were going to do it. Like, okay, then why report it type of deal. There are other issues here that I'll get to. Let's say you are the GM of the Cowboys, or I guess owner of the Cowboys. Would you trade for Breece Hall? T for trade, P for pass. Once again, go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. T for your trade for him, P for your pass, and you don't think that's actually an area of concern for Dallas. I think amid these Breece Hall trade rumors, he is clearly an upgrade over what the Cowboys currently have in the backfield with Javonte Williams and the banged-up guys behind him. However, I am not convinced the Jets want to move on from him, at least and especially not right now. They want to run the ball a lot with Justin Fields. They're going to need Breece Hall to be a part of that. Now, if they're bad come trade deadline time, can certainly, potentially, reevaluate that. I am not convinced right now the Cowboys view the backfield as an area of need right now. That they might actually feel good with the combination of Javonte Williams and everybody else on that depth chart. And we haven't really seen them play yet in the preseason. We haven't seen Javonte be in a real, actual game with this Dallas Cowboys team. Maybe we do against the Ravens on Saturday. And Miles Sanders working his way back from injury. Jaden Blue's banged up. I do think that Hall as a player is better than what the Cowboys have right now. Maybe the potential of Jaden Blue is higher, but that's also like the floor is way lower, right? Hall should have gone for 1,000 yards back in 2023 with the Cowboys, or the Jets messed up the yardage he needed and screwed that one up pretty bad. I also dispute this idea that, Allen was so good last year for the Jets. He really wasn't, though. He averaged 3.6 yards per carry. And it's a smaller sample size. I get that. The supporting cast was not very good either. But, that is far lower than what Breece Hall was averaging. The gap from Braylon Allen to Breece Hall is bigger than the gap from Braylon Allen down to what Ezekiel Elliott was last year. There's a pretty sizable difference then. Now, if you want more Cowboys coverage right here on the channel, all you have to do is subscribe. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Some more updates on the DaRon Bland situation. He again confirmed the Cowboys and his agent have had contract talks. Feel like everyone just kind of rewrote the same story they did last time. Bland said he also hoped to get a contract extension done with the Cowboys, and he'd love to find a way to be here long term. I'm sure he'd love that, especially before hey, they start doing some maybe he's got to play nickel conversation stuff, which is always a bit dangerous. Highest paid corners per year right now. Sauce Gardner's at $30 million. I don't think DaRon Bland's going to command $30 million. I would say that the difference between the highest paid nickel and other guys is significantly higher. There is a massive difference between those types of players. So, if I were DaRon Bland, and I appreciate him saying all the right things right now, if I were DaRon Bland, I don't think he wants to play nickel corner in a contract year. Because those guys simply don't get paid as much. Especially when you were not a first-round pick. The Trent McDuffie deal potentially could look pretty similar to the DaRon Bland deal. How does that all play out? I don't know. The Cowboys aren't good with these kind of awkward contracts unless the player just takes way less. So what is the percent chance the Cowboys sign DaRon Bland specifically before the season? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Go vote. Percent chance the Cowboys sign DaRon Bland. Couple quick injury notes here. Did not participate at practice on Wednesday. Tyler Guyton, Sadiq Charles, Jaden Blue, Brevin Spanford, Kalen Carson, and Elijah Clark. Several of those guys we knew were not going to play at all or practice on Wednesday. Spanford, Charles is still nicked up. Carson's going to be ready around week 1. Jaden Blue and Elijah Clark are the ones that stand out of okay, that's kind of noteworthy for where they're at on the roster. These 6 players probably aren't going to end up playing against the Ravens. Schottenheimer left the door open a little bit for Jaden Blue. I'd be surprised. Happily surprised, but I'd be surprised that ended up happening. So I am curious, and we'll talk more about this on a future video. How does this play out? Who plays where? What does this overall situation look like for the second preseason game? He said Tyler Booker is going to play. Hopefully that doesn't change like it did late last week, but I think there is some uncertainty about who's going to play and how much in that preseason game. Fortunately, doesn't look like Jaden Blue will be among them. The pin poll on today's show is this. The wife and I have had the conversations, had the disagreements, maybe we can call it that. I don't know. It's all in good nature. I want to name my son. We've picked out, we are in agreement on the first name. It's going to be a T name. It's not Tom. I want to go T name. We're in agreement there. And then I want to go Rex as the middle name because I want to be able to call him T-Rex. I just want that to be his nickname for life. T-Rex. My wife is not a fan of it because she doesn't want to have a kid be named after a dinosaur or something. I think it's awesome. I am a big believer in name theory because name theory is awesome. If you have a cool name, you're going to be good at whatever you do. But the Ohio State freshman back, Bo Jackson, come on, he's obviously going to be awesome. Come on. Good name, you're going to have a good career with whatever you do. Lawyer named T-Rex, he's going to win every case. football player named T-Rex. Hopefully he's not a wide receiver, but if he's like a linebacker, gonna be awesome, right? Drug dealer. He's the cool drug dealer. Nobody messes with him. No matter what he does, he's gonna have success. That's my mindset, all right? The coldest to ever do it, Crawford. Guy got college football scholarships. It'd be a huge success for my son, given my athletic ability. Like, I think it'd be cool. Wife says no, but she has made a compromise of, well, he can be T-Rex, but his last name isn't Downey, it's Finley, which is her maiden name. I don't know if I can agree to that. That kind of defeats, like, the purpose of that. And I don't know how my dad, I've not told my dad about this. He might not like that either. Would you do that deal? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Would you take that offer? So essentially, I tweeted this out too. It's a TD for a T-Rex is what I'm trading here. Because then I can't call him TD either. So Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comments of today's show. This is the super chat menu, by the way, on today's video. Any super chat equals a shout out. $5 into our jersey raffle entry. $10, you get 3 jersey raffle entries. $50 for the shoddy. We already did the first two for ones on the 5 and 10. Those super chats have come in thanks to Bloodslinger and Jacob Marshall. First shoddy, we'll do 2 $50 super chats. First 100, we will do 2 beer bongs as well. So get those in, and we'll get to the next portion of today's show. Time to talk Cowboys versus Ravens, week 2 of the NFL preseason. Looking at 10 players. I did cheat a little bit on this, so it's a little bit more than 10. But whatever, it's my show, and it's more video, more players, so who cares? We're going to watch in the Cowboys versus Ravens game. Before we dive into all of that, do you want the Cowboys to beat the Ravens? I do. I assume you do as well. If you are in that bucket, show it by liking today's video right now. We've got the data to prove it. More likes we get, the more likely it is that the Cowboys come out on top. So like the video if you haven't already done so. Let's discuss the top players to watch here. And I changed a lot of these. I did not change the quarterback. Obviously, Joe Milton is a player we're going to be extremely locked into for this game. And for good reason. This is the guy the Cowboys are trying to develop, that we're trying to see what he's able to do and able to showcase. He was not great against the Rams. The traits were on display. He was the exact same guy he was last year in the preseason, and the exact same guy he was at Tennessee, and the exact same guy he was at Michigan. The arm is incredible. The mobility is there. The physical traits make you go, wow, okay, he's got juice there, man. The down in, down out consistency is not there. He holds the ball too long, and it's all fastballs. He never, very rarely, did do it better in the second half, never really showcased the touch. Like, he had guys open. He had Floyd open for a huge play at one point and just airmailed him. Like, dialing it back and just having a little bit of finesse with these throws is a big step for Joe Milton, who has never actually been good in the preseason. So he's got to calm down, settle down, and just play a little bit more under control, which he can do. He can do it. Let's go to the running backs then. And then I'm doing all of the backs here because I don't know who's going to play how much, and what the rotation is going to look like, etc. We are filming this, by the way, as part of our live show on Thursday. So do keep this in mind when I say I don't think that we're going to have Jaden Blue available for the Cowboys. Sounds like he is unlikely. Schottenheimer kept the door open, but I would anticipate he is not out there since he did not practice at all this week. Does sound like the Cowboys are going to get Miles Sanders back. I want him to play. I want Javonte Williams to play. I think it'd be a little bit, delusional is not the right word, but I think it's a little bit presumptuous to assume that Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are locked in as they're clearly good enough to make a team given the way they've played the last couple of years. Press X to doubt. I want to see, and we'll talk about this more on a future video too, who else plays and how much? Does Lipke play at all? Does he get carries? What does the Deuce Vaughn, Phil Maffa, Malik Davis rotation look like behind the so-called top 2 guys? Give me your score predictions between the Cowboys and the Ravens. This will be the pinned comment, by the way. So go vote. Give me your score predictions between the Cowboys and the Ravens in the preseason. Let's go to Trayshawn Holden. This is another overlap from the first preseason week 1 matchup. The biggest thing for me with Holden, does he get to go up the depth chart at all? Like, the Cowboys, for a team that wants to preach competition, honestly, I don't think the first preseason game was exactly full of competition. Like, Holden came into training camp at the bottom. He had the smallest guarantees. He was kind of last. But he kept impressing, kept making plays, kept flashing. But he was still last among the wide receivers to play in the preseason, behind guys like Josh Kelly for some reason. I want to see him get more chances, to see if he is someone who I can't afford to cut. He's in a battle with guys like Jalen Brooks and Ryan Flanoy. I think the reality is the top 5 guys on this Cowboys roster are pretty much set at wide receiver, but I want to see if Flanoy can do anything else. He's got even better athletic gifts, not necessarily talent, but athletic gifts, than what Trayshawn Holden has. He was a draft pick by the Cowboys. He could have had a bigger game if Milton had him on a crosser. He was open. It should have been like 25, 30, 40 yards. And he just kind of like missed it. I want to see what Flanoy is able to do and if he's able to be a bigger impact piece. The receivers in general, it does kind of tie into Joe Milton. I just want to see what those guys are able to do. I want to see if they can show me more. So what is your confidence level? It is just the preseason, but what is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Ravens? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, of course, on the low end, 10 on the high end. Drop that answer for me in the comments. A lot of offense linemen you could have gone with here. Like O-line in general is an easy one. I think Tyler Booker is going to play, so that's good on that front. I actually want to watch Hakeem Adeniji, the right tackle. Johnny Cornelius, I thought, outplayed him in the first preseason game. Adeniji was the one who got beat and allowed the sack that the Cowboys gave up in that first preseason game. I thought he didn't look great out there. Like, I want to see, in general, the offensive line, and I'm picking Adeniji this time. Because I wonder, given the uncertainty right now with Tyler Guyton, who is banged up and is going to be, let's call him questionable right now for the first game of the season, would the Cowboys be comfortable going into the first game of the regular season with banged up Tyler Guyton, Terrence Steele, 7th-round pick Nathan Thomas, and 6th-round pick Johnny Cornelius as their backups? Or do they want the veteran? I want the better player. So let's see what Adeniji is able to do. This Cowboys hoodie is on sale. It was $55. Now it is just $33. Link will be in the comment section and the third paragraph of the description as well. It's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. That's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. Let's go to Mazi Smith next up here. And Mazi is interesting. He himself admitted that he didn't play the way he needs to. As a first-round pick, as a guy that we're kind of really banking on to have a bigger impact, he has not lived up to that yet. And he didn't show it against the Rams. Someone got mad at me for saying that Mazi didn't play well. Like, oh, he's so negative. I'm like, what? He said it too. The Cowboys' run defense in general started the game fine against the Rams, and then I kind of think it was just too many snaps for Jay Toia. And, the other guys down the roster just aren't good, respectfully. They kind of got washed out late by the Rams. The Ravens ran the ball super well in their first preseason game. So I do want to see how this one plays out. So TBD on how it looks with Mazi, but hopefully he looks better. A player who did look pretty darn good last week against the Rams, Maris Leofau, I was really impressed by. He showed up right away, instantaneously, made a huge play on special teams, and then he looked to be moving quickly and reading properly and having instincts. And I would like him to continue to play so well that he ends up looking like a piece that the Cowboys have to get on the field more, and they have to play him more snaps. That would be a really strong outcome for me. If he's able to beat out guys like a Kenneth Murray, like a Jack Sanborn, until DeMarvion Overshown gets back, and then we got whole other different kinds of questions as well. So I'm curious how it looks. I'm excited how it looks. And hopefully there actually is competition there, and it's not just Murray and Sanborn are our guys no matter what, because I did see some good stuff last year from Leah Fowl. If you guys have not already, do me a favor and subscribe. We will be live for every single Cowboys preseason game. If you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos. Izzy Mukuamu is next up here. He was the one who impressed me the most in that first Cowboys preseason game. This was the one that I thought was impactful, impressive. I want to see more from him. I want him to get a better chance to do more, to be a better impact piece. I also want to see how Zion Childress fares, because he's gotten more reps at practice this past week with the ones. And I get extremely anxious about the Cowboys just riding with what they have right now in the secondary. I don't think this team is good enough right now in the secondary. I think, positive side, if Childress has been so impactful, he's going to make the team great, awesome, happy for him. That, always good to find a UDFA gem. My concern right now is that he's going to make the team just because there's nobody else. That your healthy corners right now are DaRon Bland, Kaiir Elam, and then it's like a who's who of these guys aren't very good. Kamon Hall, Zion Childress, Andrew Booth, Troy Pride, Robert Rochelle's a little bit nicked up, Izzy Mukuamu. I just, are we really going to play that game? I get worried about it. So week one, who do you want as your nickel? I think there are 4 options on the roster right now. KH for Kamon Hall, DB for DaRon Bland, Izzy Mukuamu, that's IM, or ZC for Zion Childress. Finally, I do want to take a more in-depth look here at the safeties. I thought, and kind of going back and rewatching, I thought Marquise Bell and Wanye Thomas did not play very well. For what they are of guys that I think could be I wanted them to push for starters. Okay, they didn't really justify that. So pick your player to watch. Bell and Wanye Thomas with Elijah Clark banged up. I don't know. They might play a lot in this one. Because I don't think they're going to play Hooker and Wilson a ton. So Bell, Thomas, I have higher expectations of those guys. Those are probably 2 of your 5, 6, 7 best players who played against the Rams. And I didn't think they were that good. So I want to see how they play in this upcoming game instead. All right, 2-part ask here. Number 1, get your questions in via #Cowboys or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. And then, Chris, what I actually want to do here is I've got a missed call from the wife, so I'm just going to check in on that and make sure everything's good. So let's go back to the nickel. Can you just give some shout-outs here for me? So go back to that weigh-in 4, Billy, and then that way I can go take the call real quick, and I'm sure it's fine, because I should probably call a bunch of times. I just want to make sure. We're at the point where I kind of got to pay attention to the phone during the live shows and make sure that's going. So go ahead and bring that across. Pick a nickel. KH. Just want to do is that one there? Okay. And then, go ahead and mute me for a second then. Go ahead and push it across. Pick your nickel. KH. IM for Izzy Mukuamu. ZC for Zion Childress. DB for DaRon Bland. We'll let executive producer Chris give some shout-outs here in just a second.
All right, we'll get some shout-outs in the chat here. Let us know what you guys think while Tom's taking that quick phone call real quick. Let's see. Chris Romero saying IM for Israel Mukuamu. What else we got? Let's see. Jonathan saying Bland on the outside, Mukuamu in the nickel. Let's see. D. Teddy saying Israel Mukuamu. Zion Childress as well there from Can Be Chillin'. I see a lot of Israel Mukuamu's in there for that nickel spot. I know everybody for the most part definitely, I always do that, definitely wants DaRon Bland playing that outside corner spot. It's just mainly going to be about, do you have the bodies? I think is going to be the biggest thing for the Cowboys here. And at the same time, DaRon Bland doesn't want to get paid like a nickel. He wants to get paid like a corner. The nickel market is just ridiculously low, and you could pay him now and pay him corner money now, and then let him play the nickel during the season. I'm sure he'd be totally fine with that at that point, but don't want to go out there and then play the nickel and then have Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones want to pay you like a nickel when you're out actually, that outside corner. So keep the comments coming here. Who do you want to play nickel? I really haven't seen any Kamon Hall, or I guess there was one Zion Childress in there as well. Yeah, Daniel right there saying we should sign Bland and Smith right now, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it brings everything else down. You pay less in the long run if you pay him early. Let's see. Seabass saying if he doesn't want to play the nickel on a contract year, then maybe Bland waits till next season. It's just going to cost more. That's the biggest thing. Or Jerry and Steven say, oh, well, you played nickel this year. You played nickel this year, so we're going to pay you like a nickel, and then, we're back to the holdout stuff. Somebody else is holding out next season, and that's the biggest thing that the Cowboys seem to have issues with all the time. See, I see a Kamon Hall in there as well from Donnell. Let's see, Seabay is saying, yep, tough decisions. Let's see, I see a Pay Bland in there. I see a Kamon Hall in there. Zion Childress in there. Lucid Chart asking about the report there from Pretty Ricky about Micah Parsons in Green Bay. It's probably not. I'm not saying the report isn't true. There might be a trade offer from the Packers, but I cannot imagine the Cowboys would actually do it. I mean, depending on what the offer actually really is, right now before the season, you're probably not getting the max back what you would get, say you wanted to trade him maybe before the draft. If that was going to be the case, the Cowboys should have went down that route before the draft last season. They could have moved up and, done a little bit better draft-wise, been higher on that list there. But as of right now, you're not going to get as many first-round draft picks for Micah Parsons as you would have probably if you would have gone down that route, a couple of months ago before the NFL draft. So that report was out there, but, we'll see if the Cowboys actually do anything on that front. All right, Tom, coming back here. Keep getting your comments in.
KH for Kamon Hall. IM for Israel Mukuamu. DB for DaRon Bland. ZC for Zion Childress. Everything's good, by the way. It was literally just to confirm that the plans we had made tonight were still the plans. So, it could have been an email, right? Could have been an email. So, get your super chats in here as well. Any super chat equals a shout out on the show. $5, you can do our jersey raffle. $10, 3 jersey raffle entries. $50 for the shoddy. First 50 is 2. $100 is a beer bong. First 100 is 2 as well. Coming up next, we will dive into our mailbag. So again, you can get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. Did see several hashtag Cowboys that already came in, which I greatly appreciate. So keep them coming. Hashtag Cowboys, skip the line altogether via Super Chat. I'll make sure of, people asking, shoddy of what? So I should always explain this each time we do the show because people don't always watch all of them. The shoddy is Brian Schottenheimer's drink of choice, which is he does vodka, a little bit of water, lemons. So we kind of modified it because it's all back in a bottle in the fridge of vodka still, a little bit of sugar-free lemonade. That felt more natural. And then not really much water, frankly. It's mostly vodka cut with sugar-free lemonade because otherwise it's not really a shoddy. So someone said 10 beer bongs before your plans tonight. No, the plans are that I'm picking up Olivia, essentially. So get your super chats in and get your hashtag Cowboys questions in as well. To begin today's mailbag, a $5 super thanks from William Cook. He says the frustrating aspect is that the Cowboys could have avoided scrambling in August for a corner and defensive tackle help I think Williams is right. And this was in reference to, like, some of the reports and projections of, like, hey, maybe the Cowboys actually do go get a DT or a corner. Jerry not closing the door, not fully closing it. Steven saying they were interested in that area. Look, in general, my point remains the same. It's the exact same conversation we had last year, especially at defensive tackle. Like, if you want help, like actual help, solution help, and not Band-Aid help, you got to do it in April, in March. You wait till August, and your viable options are cut down extremely thin to where, it doesn't look good. Like, finding a solution is pretty hard. Now, just like we did throughout the offseason, every $5 super thanks will get you into whatever upcoming raffle we have for our Cowboys watch party. So, in this case, $5 gets you into our jersey of your choice, Cowboys preseason raffle for week 2. $5 super chat or super thanks. Either of those work for you on the Cowboys Report. Austin Carey just says $2 thanks. Is it even possible how we could fix the run defense this late, especially with the run defense? I know signing Gilmore could solve corner problems, but I'm more worried about the run. Is it even possible to save that problem now, or do we just have to ride it out and see what happens? Kind of like what I mentioned previously, I don't know. Like, the top free agents are like, Christian Wilkins, set him aside. He's kind of in a unique bubble almost where, like, we'll see. Like, the off-the-field stuff, the injury stuff, the availability is a giant question mark. But it's like Linval Joseph and Raekwon Davis, or we're like making trades again for like back of the roster DTs. Like, can somebody's 5th DT be your 3rd or 4th best DT? And if that's the case, like, are you actually fixed? Like, you can try things, but once you get to August, outside of a massive move, which is not normally the Cowboys' MO, you kind of just got to cross your fingers and hope, which is concerning to me. So with that in mind, what do you predict the Cowboys' record will end up being this year? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. From Juan Ramos, if the Cowboys sign Stephon Gilmore, should he play outside and put Bland on the slot or Elam in the slot? So you would put him on the outside and you'd put Bland in the slot. Gilmore does not have the quickness and never really has. He's always been an outside guy, but he is not a nickel corner. It's not where you want to play him. Same with Elam. Your slot options right now in no particular order are DaRon Bland, Kamon Hall, Zion Childress, and Izzy Mukuamu. It's kind of why, like, the best and worst case scenario is DaRon Bland in the nickel. But even then, right now, without Gilmore, it's like Diggs healthy or Andrew Booth, which I don't want to play that game ever again. From Troy Daniels, a.k.a. at DTeddy1970, says, I had heard Tyler Algier's name being raised as a possible target to trade for. What would it take to get him? Good question. I think Algier in particular is probably not going to happen. The Falcons have Bijan. He's awesome. We all know that. Behind him, not including Algier, it's like Carlos Washington and Jashawn Corbin and Elijah Dotson. Like, it's unserious. Like, they don't have a second back without Algier. So right now, they're just going to be happy to have a cheap, really good RB2. So I don't think he's actually available. If the season falls apart, maybe they could reconsider, but I don't think it's going to fall apart for them that quickly. So, like, it's a logical name because of the presence of Robinson, but the guys behind him make this unlikely to occur. From Tim Roughrider, what is he, a fan of the Frisco team? Would the Cowboys have been better off keeping Trey Lance? I did this. Let me pull up the exact stats before I get myself into trouble. I did this as a tweet the other day because I thought it was kind of funny of how I don't expect anybody watching to actually be watching Chargers preseason games. I don't think there's no reason to do that unless you're just really bored, which is great. I do it because it's my job. But, like, I don't think other people should do it. I think media should be watching the preseason games. But I did this as a tweet the other day of, like, I tweeted out player A, player B. Player A, through 2 preseason games, is completed 58.8% of his passes for 5.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 3 sacks, 56 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Player B has 62.5%, 5.3 yards per carry, so 0.2 higher, only 1 touchdown, still no interceptions, 78 yards on the ground, and I put those numbers out. 75% voted player B was outplaying player A. Player B was Trey Lance in his first 2 games last year for the Cowboys. Player A is Trey Lance right now for the Chargers. The numbers actually aren't different at all. The difference is that it's just like it's not it does not fit in terms of like the impact and the play. Like I think the highlights of Trey Lance are still super intriguing, but the actual like impact hasn't been there. Like it's been kind of disappointing so far for Trey Lance. Like it's just, I think it's all still flash in the end, which is still what Milton is. I don't think there's actually a huge difference right now. At least not in the games. So pick your QB. JM for Joe Milton, TL for Trey Lance. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. If you could pick one right now, pretend the money's the same, etc., as the backup, who would it be? Go vote. Lucid chart to the Cowboys re-sign Brevin Spanford. Brevin Spanford is under team control for 2 more years. He's got this year, next year, and then actually I think he's a restricted free agent after that. So check in again in 2 years. That's not really something you have to worry about for the time being. This Dallas Cowboys hoodie is on sale. Was $55. Now it is just $33. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. A perfect fall outfit for you as the weather, hopefully, finally and soon, begins to cool. Chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. From W. Linton 20, I think it's Wes Linton is his name. Now YouTube does the handles, and I get confused. Hypothetical scenario, but what if Trayvon plays well this year coming from injury and remains healthy through 2025? Would you then keep him over Bland or cut him and keep Bland? Thank you. Both is in play, by the way. If like Diggs outplays Bland, you're probably just better off keeping Diggs, right? Because just take the better guy. My thought process at this point, though, is that even if Diggs plays well, the Cowboys have let their money get so mad. I think they're just going to move on pretty much no matter what, whether that's smart or not, because both is good. Both is an option. Super chat time, $5 from Blood Slinger. Is there a chance Parsons plays out the contract and they franchise tag him next year? Look, I think it's possible. Everything is on the table at this time for the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons because we're not talking to each other and I issued a trade request stage. That's not good. It could end up being fine, but the process to get us here has been so bad and so negative and so in the feelings, it's not good. You have to have that as a consideration. I think that would be a bit more likely than a trade in August, but everything's on the table. It's frustrating. Ends probably the same way, but still stupid. From Not R. Kelly, what do you think about the recent 70-yard field goal kick? So if those of you who do not know, Cam Little, the Jags kicker, hit a 70-yard field goal in the preseason. I think it was against the Steelers who they were playing, which is just unbelievable. That it does not count as a record. It would have been a record-setting kick. He kicked pretty well last year for the Jags. I think he was like 93% after being a draft pick out of Arkansas, I do believe. I think I said Stanford on the live show, but it was Arkansas. His career long was 59, drilled 70. It's impressive. Let's let Aubrey have a chance to break it in the preseason. That's my next step. From Mighty Mouse, is now the time to trade for Dameon Pierce or Kendre Miller? If you think you need a back, yeah. Like this is around the time you go do it. You know, I know that Joe Mixon has been banged up. Nick Chubb's still working his way back, but I think Woody Marks is probably going to make the team. If Chubb and Mixon are healthy, Pierce might not make the roster. The Saints are kind of overhauling their ground game. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is not going to go anywhere, but if Kendre Miller can't win the 2 job, then he's probably going to be a potential trade option. It's just, I don't know if the Cowboys think they need one. And if that's the case, just not trade for him. What do you think? Do the Cowboys need to trade for a back? Or maybe you think they need a better back than the 2 names I mentioned, or that were mentioned, that we discussed here, because this guys might not really move the needle for you much either. Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. From Daniel, if the Cowboys sign Christian Wilkins for DT and Stephon Gilmore for corner, our defense will be fixed for now until 2026. We can go 12-5, 13-4 with that defense and be top 10. If you get healthy Christian Wilkins, I think that's massive for you. The problem is, I don't know if you're going to have healthy Christian Wilkins this year. That's a giant question mark, given everything about him right now. Like the foot injury was clearly not rehabbed well. The off-the-field stuff. Frankly, the presence of David Mulligeta as his agent is probably a negative thing. So I would be hesitant to say that that's going to be an option, but it would help you. Make no mistake about it. Lucid Chart would trade Mozzie and a fourth for Kenny Clark. Sure. Packers aren't. Packers just traded, or just extended, I should say, Kenny Clark. They would save, like, I think it's like $3 million this year, but like that's essentially just like throwing money out the window because they just extended him. I don't think Green Bay would have any interest at all. That's the crux of the issue. They're like, Cowboys, sure. Packers say bye. We will be live for every single Cowboys preseason game. Help us out and join us by subscribing. Hit that sub button right now. Daniel, heard what Mozzie said about his performance. I quite honestly don't have the slightest of care because he has moments and he hasn't taken them. It's like, what have you done? So I agree. Like I think the overall mindset of like Mozzie was right when he said, those of you who don't know, Mozzie essentially said like I have to do more. Like I'm in year 3, his first round pick. I have to be more impactful. I have to showcase what I'm able to do better. I agree. I also get the mindset of like, okay, well then do it, because you do have to do it. Otherwise, it's all talk. I'll also say like, look, the first step is acknowledging it. Maybe he never gets to step 2 of actually being better, but I'd rather him say I have to be better than be like, no, I thought I played pretty well when you didn't. So in the end, much like just like all the good vibes around Schottenheimer, none of it matters unless you win games, or play better. But I think that is a good first step. This is the super chat menu on today's show. Any super chat is a shout out, as we did earlier. I got to put, I can't believe we got not R. Kelly in there earlier. It's a wild time to be alive. I don't know. The fact that you have to like try to clarify that you're not R. Kelly makes me question that, okay, maybe that was R. Kelly. $10, 3 jersey raffle entries, $50 for a shotty, $100 for the beer bong. The first 2 of each of these is double, or first 1 of each of these is double. We already got the first 2. So first 50 is 2 shotties. It's the Schottenheimer drink of choice, which is just like vodka with like a bit of lemonade mixed in to cut it, essentially. And $100 for a beer bong. Happy to do 2 beer bongs if we get that on the show. Question for you guys. Will you watch Cowboys versus Ravens? I certainly am going to watch. We will be live for the game. We'll have our fun watch parties and giveaways and raffles and just general excitement. Will you watch it? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Before we dive into our preview of the Cowboys and the Ravens, we are going to do this each week. The most comments on today's show gets a free jersey raffle entry. We're going to raffle off a jersey during the game. This is a free chance to enter. Most comments on today's show gets that free entry. Cowboys are hosting the Baltimore Ravens, and as always, a low-scoring expected preseason matchup. The Ravens are 1.5 favorites in this one. They won their first preseason game. The Cowboys lost their first preseason game. Lamar Jackson and other key players are not going to start for the Ravens. Lamar has not played a preseason game since 2021. Noteworthy. The Cowboys should play a few more notable guys like Tyler Booker, for example. That does not mean they're going to play a lot of those key players or play them very long. I don't think you'll see Dak Prescott out there. Joe Milton is going to start once again for the Cowboys at QB. Historically, the Ravens are pretty good in the preseason. At one point, they had won 24 straight games. Then the Commanders beat them on a walk-off kick, and that was the Commanders' Super Bowl that year, and they were terrible. They clearly peaked. It was very obvious from the beginning that, okay, they are way too excited about that overall win for a preseason game. Since then, however, the Ravens are just 2-4. Kind of like once someone broke the 4-minute mile, okay, other people can do it too, or 5-minute mile, whatever it was. We also, by the way, get a little Cooper Rush revenge game. The Ravens quarterback stunk against the Colts. People don't realize that because who watches that? I do. Rush was 2 of 4 for 16 yards and a pick. The other QB, Devin Leary, 3 of 12 for 43 yards and a pick. In theory, Rush plays better, but that was a bad showing against the Colts. So I am curious how he does in the revenge game. With that in mind, who do you have in this one? R for the Ravens, C for the Cowboys. Get those predictions in. Who wins this second preseason game? R for the Ravens, C for the Cowboys. Go vote right now. Let's talk what to watch for in this game. Just like last week, I want to see who plays and who doesn't, or even who doesn't play a lot, because I think would be a good indication of like where their status is on the roster. Like if Javonte Williams gets 2 drives and Miles Sanders gets 4 or whatever, Javonte's RB1, which we'll talk about the backs here in a little bit. The Cowboys played very few notable players against the Rams. Like the most notable guys were Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas, Breece Hall, Jaylen Tolbert, Mozzie Smith. That was like they didn't play Sam Williams. They didn't play any of the backs of note. Like they didn't play Marshawn. I was kind of surprised. Like it was the twos played and Mozzie essentially. Like that's noteworthy. So I want to see who plays more this time. And if you don't want to play guys like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Osa, George Pickens, that's fine. I get that. But like Marshawn Nealand, they've said Tyler Booker is going to start. Both Williams, Sam and Javonte, Miles Sanders, like those guys should be out there. Like give them the reps that they need. They haven't played enough to like not get a little bit better in the preseason. Like you want to play the important, healthy guys, fine. But those guys should be playing. I also want to see if the depth chart order changes at all. Like, do the Cowboys actually make adjustments? Because the week 1 preseason depth chart looked a lot like the day 1 training camp depth chart. Trayshawn Owen was the last receiver in, but he played pretty well again. Schottenheimer said he was going to move up the depth chart. Okay, does he? Does he move up the depth chart, or does he just kind of like stick where he's at? How does that actually play out? I want to see actual competition. That requires depth chart changes. What does the running back rotation look like? Deuce Vaughn is still working ahead of Phil Maffa with the ones at training camp. Does that continue, or does Maffa get more run? What does the quarterback room look like? Because that's a giant question mark I have on this team. I want to see how they play, but also what the ordering is that they play. So should these starters play against the Ravens? At least some of the starters. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments of today's show. Number 2, I hope we get to see more of the running back room. I want to see these guys be out there. The Cowboys in the first preseason game didn't play any of, frankly, the 4 guys who might make the roster at this group. They didn't play Williams, Sanders, Lipke, or Blue. Now, Blue's banged up as of filming. Feels like unlikely he's going to be able to go. But I thought Malik Davis played very well in that first preseason game with like showing up the day before, signing the day before essentially, and then playing was incredible. Phil Maffa showed some good stuff. Deuce Vaughn seemed like he was on a pitch count essentially because he kind of played the first quarter and sat. He should get more run if you're going to play the backups, but like, are you going to play the starters? So like, I game 2, general vibe I get is they'll play more of the top guys, so play them. Give Javonte Williams some carries. I get you want to see what Joe Milton has, who we'll discuss, but like, play these guys. Williams wasn't good last year in Denver. Sanders was not good last year in Carolina. I want to see stuff from them, not just give them jobs. So who scores the first touchdown this week for the Dallas Cowboys? The correct answer last week was Rivaldo Fairweather. Deep cut right there. Who scores the first one this week? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 3, the run defense, which is kind of a backdoor way of saying, like, not just Mozzie Smith, actually. I do want to see how these run defenders fare. Because, like, I thought against the Rams, they did a good job early. Blake Corum didn't have great success. Jarquez Hunter didn't have great success. But then, Cody Schrader cooked him. Jordan Waters came in and had a couple nice runs as well. I feel like they just got tired, essentially. But that can't happen in a real game. You can't fall behind and then get gashed in the third and fourth quarter because you're tired. And the Ravens have some dudes that can run the football. Keaton Mitchell's an explosive playmaker. Dearness Johnson has bounced around the league for a while. Rashid Ali was a former, I think it was 5th-round pick out of Marshall who's got some talent. I want to see how these DTs do. Now, Osa, I know who he is. It's fine. Mozzie, do more. You have to. Solomon Thomas should play. He should play. Jay Toia, I didn't think he was that great. I actually thought he was worse than Mozzie, which is saying something concerning. He can't get turned as much. He's got to be more powerful in terms of his anchor. Perrion Winfrey, I thought, flashed a little bit, but is he going to be able to make the team? Denzel Daxon. Is he going to be a practice squad? Probably. Can we say Tommy Akambasote's name one time? We haven't said it outside of like me asking, can I say it? Because he hasn't made any plays in camp either. Ernest Brown is a jag. Sorry. Like they need, I think, more here, but they better do something in this game. Like make some plays. Make me notice you live, and then make me feel really good about you when I go back and watch it, the All-22, because I have a illness and I can't not do it. Again, we'll be live for every single Cowboys preseason game. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Number 4, just Joe Milton is what to watch for. Can he be better this time? He got a little bit better as the game went along, but the Cowboys had 1 yard of offense in the first quarter. 1 yard. It was 160-1. I almost made .4 start better, but like that's the preseason. Like, does that really matter? But that's really a Joe Milton start better here. Like, he has to be better than what he's been ever in the preseason. The Joe Milton experience is the arm is incredible, the athletic ability is there, but the consistency is not. And the ability to just make the throws with touch isn't consistently there. He has to be better. I want him to be better because it's more fun. I don't want to watch Joe Milton miss 6 straight passes to begin a game. I hope he plays better this week against the Ravens. Do you think that happens? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comment section of today's show. Will Joe Milton be better against the Ravens this week? Number 5, special teams. And this, I'm probably one of the few people who kind of cares about it, but I do think it matters. And, we saw Maurice Leafau make that big play on special teams. Who else is out there? Like, what do your gunners look like, especially early on when it's the first team special teams unit? Like, how do those guys fare? That will help tell us who makes this team. Because so often, even though we don't always like it, that last roster spot or two comes down to special teams. Like, that wide receiver 6 battle, I kind of want to see Trayshawn Holden go play special teams. She hasn't really done yet. Because that helps him make the roster. Otherwise, the Cowboys might go, yeah, receiver 6, we got 5 guys ahead of him already, and we need gunner number 3. And gunner number 3 is more valuable than receiver 6. So who and what that special teams team looks like does matter, especially this week. Before we go, the pin poll today, it is a majority vote in favor of no. The deal between my wife and I is she has offered to go on board with naming our son T-Rex, but it wouldn't be T-Rex Downey. It would be T-Rex Finley. My son would take her last name, which I kind of feel deep down is still like a bluff from her. I think it's still a bluff from her, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because my gut says no. My gut says no. So should I do that deal? Y for yes, N for no. Then I do want to get to Jason Phillips's $5 super chat that came in as well before we sign off today. Should I go with that deal? It is T-Rex. It is T-name redacted Rex, but it's not Downey, and it's Finley instead, and doesn't have the last name. It just feels weird to me. So go vote in that pin poll. Y for yes, N for no. And now we've got some other names coming through. Other name sessions like Nico Harrison Downey. No, not doing that one. Absolutely not. T-Rex Downey's in there. T-Rex Downey I want, but she's offering T-Rex Finley, and that's different. That's different. All right, Jason Phillips says, see all the way. This is in reference to the who you got, see who the Cowboys are for the Ravens. Appreciate that. We also got T-Rex Jones, Chase Sr. Downey. Chase Sr. Jr. That's a very fun joke that Chase gets a lot. Rain Dakota Downey. There you go. Appreciate that $5 super chat. Jason, you're into the jersey raffle, which we will do during the Cowboys-Ravens watch party. Make sure you guys are subscribed for that. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. We'll have a video for you each and every single day. 2 videos tomorrow, video this afternoon, video Saturday morning as well. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now.